do the best we can.
Hi, my name is Alethia, and I'll be refuting the claim that was given earlier that stated that the drinking age should be lowered to the age of 18 instead of 21. First and foremost, the biggest argument for lowering the drinking age is that many of our laws, such as voting, serving in the military, driving, and marriage, and also tobacco, have the minimum age of 18. But none of these laws have such a possible negative impact to the individual or community like alcohol does. To break these down, tobacco nationwide has an age limit of 18, but this is rapidly changing in states because of its harm, and no one can argue that it has any positive effects anymore. 5 states, including California, and 260 localities such as New York City and Chicago have increased the age limit to 21 because of its harmful effects like alcohol. Now, for voting, it's a basic right that was given to us by our founding fathers to ensure that democracy prevails in this country. Serving our country also does not have negative effects. As a whole, it's an honor and privilege to many who serve our nation, and marriage at the age of 18 does not have as high of a negative effect on the individuals as alcohol does. Alcohol can cause liver disease, potential brain damage, impairment of the developing brain, and etc. Therefore, these laws that have the minimum age of 18 cannot be compared to alcohol because they don't have as high of a negative effect as alcohol does, hence its higher age limit. Second, lowering the drinking age will not guarantee that teens will be more responsible. The teenage brain is not fully developed yet, hence why many make irresponsible decisions. According to NPR, the brain is still under construction during these years, and it's extremely sensitive to the effects of drugs and alcohol. Drinking at a younger age hurts the developing mind, and lowering the drinking age will only enable younger kids to drink, putting them in harm's way. Although my opponent argued that you can learn your tolerance and the awe factor of alcohol will be lessened if you start drinking at a younger age, I believe that's completely subjective because tolerance can fluctuate daily depending on how much water you drink, how much food you have, how much you work out, your body weight, and the alcohol percentage varying in different brands of alcohol. Therefore, you can only limit yourself based on the daily. Also, with the awe factor, I don't believe that it is a subjective way to measure alcohol, lowering the alcohol age, because the appeal of partying and drinking is there constantly, especially in college. You're thrown into this party scene. Therefore, people that are veteran drinkers or novice ones are there together, constantly partying every weekend. We're college students, we see it every day. So there's no guarantee that if you start drinking at a younger age, there will be less of an appeal for drinking because there's that, and how you grew up, what your family believes, if you like drinking, if you don't. So my opponent's argument is very subjective and cannot truly be measured. Although it is true that Europe has lower alcohol related crashes than us, it does not factor in that our driving age is less than them. We have bigger cars, and actually the teen drinking age rates have dropped by 54% in the last 2 decades since the law was implemented for the minimum age of 21. Lastly, I would like to use what our moms always say: if your friend would jump off a bridge, would you too? So because Europe does it, does not mean we have to too. The Europeans actually Europeans consume more alcohol than the Americans. According to Vox, there's actually no statistic or scientific evidence that proves their drinking culture is extremely better than ours. According to a U.S. exchange student interviewed by the Next Generation magazine, there are lax drinking laws, low drinking age, and a plethora of discos, clubs, and bars give kids the opportunity to totally get out of control. And they do not card as strict as ours. That means their underage drinking is actually worse than ours. And statistically, we, according to many studies, teenagers in the U.S. consume less alcohol overall than Europeans. So, in the U.S., alcohol is a privilege that you get to experience when you're 21 legally, but it's not a lifestyle, as my opponent argued, and it should not be a lifestyle because it's extremely harmful to the body and the developing mind. It should not be lowered to the age of 18. We have less consumption rates, and our drinking and driving rates have dropped significantly since our age was increased to 21. All factor and tolerance are subjective and cannot truly be argued on a scientific model. So therefore, dropping the age limit will not be beneficial for the U.S. Because laws are there to benefit and protect people, and this law, being at 21, benefit and protects people.
All right. We had a similar argument earlier. I think you do a pretty good job presenting an argument for your claims, not quite as effective at responding to the arguments that the advocate is presenting. You try to minimize the importance of the comparison that is being made there, and I thought you had some pretty good arguments about there being a substantial difference between the rights to vote or serve our country or get married and the issue of drinking. I think you kind of clarify that. That's mostly a value argument that's being presented, so I don't know how applicable it is ultimately to the main claim. If the main claim was phrased as you presented, that's a policy claim. That's another one of those things that might have been a little bit problematic about the original argument. I don't remember. The second point where you're talking about where there isn't a significant likelihood that the drinking age would decrease if we lowered the drinking age, or that drinking would decrease if we lowered the drinking age. I thought you made a reasonable argument about youth culture. You challenged the vague inferences that the advocate presented there. You kind of gave a hypothetical about the party atmosphere in colleges. And there was also some information that suggests that we can't really learn tolerance since it's going to vary from situation to situation. So those are okay presses on that issue. I thought you got a little bit better when you had information talking about what actually goes on in Europe, that there's no substantial data that suggests that their culture has reduced the consumption of alcohol, made things safer. You have some statistical information that you can use to make a comparison about what the drinking rates are. And then you kind of have an argument talking about the decline in drunk driving issues and DUIs and those sorts of things as a result of raising the driving age. I think that's a good counterclaim to be presenting. Like I said, I think that your information is okay, but it's, I think there needs to be a little bit more analysis of the argument the advocate presented as well. All right, thank you. Gesundheit.